This is a recent acquisition, Zap Raygun Classics by Leslie Singer. This is an ex-library copy that I obtained cheaply, as you can see, ex-library, and it's okay. It's what you would expect of a library book. Problem here with something having been removed, a label, and the usual library labels. Can deal with that one. I might leave on. Stamp here. University of Central England. Obviously no longer interested in ray guns. Chronicle Book, San Francisco, 1991. And lots of nice ray guns inside, of course. Old and relatively new. It's got all its pages, but it's falling apart. It's a really horrible binding system, and each individual page is breaking through. As you just start to use it, it's just falling apart, and it's only ever going to get worse. So I'm going to rebind it. Now the pages are coming out individually, not as signatures, so two ways of rebinding it. Glue a little guard paper strip to two sheets and then re-sew the whole thing. I'm not going to do that, it's not worth bothering. I'd be better off just buying a better copy. So what I'm actually going to do is use an old technique of sawing some little slots along the back of the spine when I've taken the cover off, and then putting string in the slots, gluing mull gauze to the back, and that will hold it together. So that's the plan. It's coming apart intentionally. I mean, I managed to get the end paper off the backboard. Now to try the other one. Here we go. So that's the body of the book out of the cover. The end papers have to come off of the main block, so the sewing has to be cut. So I'm going to add new end papers and sacrifice those. And get to work on this. I'm stripping off the old cloth spine backing. Need to get rid of all of that. But it's now all individual pages. Obviously needs a lot of tidying up and a few paper repairs before it's rebound. Well, I've worked out what's happened here. This was originally a paperback book, and the library binding service has been given the job of making it a hardback. They've made the boards and also added the end papers, and in doing that job they've sliced off with a guillotine the spine of the original paperback, and it's been re-sewn, which in theory might be okay, but the problem is, what they haven't taken into account is that this glossy paper, this coated paper is quite often actually quite brittle. So when they've resewn, they've first of all quite often gone through the original holes, weakening the paper, and even when they haven't, it's given the paper's got no strength. So the pages were falling out, so binding it as a hardback didn't help preserve its use within the library. And it may be that even when I've done my binding on cords technique, easy binding on cords technique that only takes a few minutes, that might not hold the pages either, but that's all I can do. But because they guillotined it, that's why the pages are individual sheets. It wouldn't have started off like that when it was a paperback. So let's get on with it. So here we are. I've put a board top and bottom of the text block so that we can give some support to that while it's being hacksawed. I've made a line on there which I'm going to cut to, and I'm going to go just past where the damage is on most of the pages, or a lot of the pages, because there isn't much information, pictures, whatever, on the page gutters, apart from a few bleed off pages, but nothing essential in the guttering area, so we can get away with losing a few millimeters of access to that area, and the book won't open very flat afterwards, but it never did before without falling apart, so I haven't really lost anything there. I've marked it with 7 cords. When using the conventional technique of actually sewing properly onto cords, the cords will be incorporated in the boards, and because we've already got a board cover made up, can't really do that, so I'm going to have to find a bodgy way to deal with the cords and the end papers. Not quite sure how I'm going to do that yet. Never used this technique before, so it's kind of interesting to work out a way to do the end papers. But I suspect I'll have to cut the cords off very short, and then a couple of conventional bookbinding tapes to hold the block onto the boards. But we shall see. Next job is to make the new end papers. Because these cords are set forward from the back of the spine, back of the block there, it's not really possible to incorporate them into the boards in a normal way. They'll just tend to get pulled out, so the options are to cut them off flush, or I might have just invented this technique to glue them to the edge of the spine there, to each of them, and then trim it, because there's a fair bit of space in the back here. So with those trimmed, glued and hammered down, I think that will be the best we can do, and then, as I've said, tip on new end papers, and I'll have conventional bookbinders tapes coming out of here and here to hold the block to the boards. Okay, so the strings have been cut, cords have been cut on this side, and I'll be lying them down, gluing them. Okay, well that's done. Now for the gauze. But first the new end papers, now attached, and that seems to have gone pretty well. The little bubbles where the strings are not really very obtrusive. So I think that's going to be fine. It's time for me to admit here, and professional bookbinders, look away now. I use contact adhesive to attach the end papers because with those bumps caused by the string, I wasn't confident I could get an even pressure there while PVA was drying, so it seems to work fine. Now the two tapes, and then the gauze. Tapes are now pasted on. So now for the gauze or mould. And then the craft paper on the back of the mull. That helps keep everything firm. Well, I've pasted the text block into the cover, and that's all worked out fine. No problems at all. So that's finished, and no problem with the gutters there. Book still opens fine. Everything's readable. And I don't think that's ever going to fall apart again.